Peter Peterson gazed out the grand windows of his sprawling mansion, his eyes drawn to the ominous pumpkin patch that lay beyond the manicured lawns. The once vibrant orange orbs had withered, their skins mottled and decaying, a visual representation of the turmoil that festered within him. Peter was a man of wealth and privilege, his success as a businessman evident in the opulent trappings that surrounded him. Yet, beneath the veneer of affluence, a darkness had taken root, a deep-seated jealousy that threatened to consume him. As he paced the lavish halls, the sound of his footsteps echoed, a constant reminder of the isolation that permeated his domain. Peter's gaze drifted to a framed photograph on the mantel, capturing a moment of apparent bliss. Him and his wife, Alice, smiling radiantly. That image now felt like a cruel taunt, a facade masking the truth that had begun to unravel. Peter's mind raced with suspicions, each interaction with Alice fueling his paranoia. Had she been unfaithful? Was she planning to leave him as his previous wives had done? The thought of betrayal sent a shiver down his spine, and he found himself questioning her every move, her every word. "Alice, darling," he called out, his voice laced with a practiced charm that belied the turmoil within. "Where have you been all morning?" Alice, ever the devoted wife, emerged from the kitchen, a warm smile gracing her features. "I was just preparing a lovely lunch for us, my love," she replied, her tone soothing and reassuring. "I know how much you enjoy my cooking." Peter's eyes narrowed slightly, searching her face for any hint of deception. Of course," he murmured, forcing a smile. "I do so love your culinary talents. But tell me, my dear, what kept you so occupied this morning?" Alice's brow furrowed in confusion, unaware of the storm brewing beneath her husband's calm facade. "I was simply tending to the household, as I always do," she explained, her gentle voice betraying no signs of guilt or subterfuge. "Is something the matter, Peter?" Peter's grip tightened on the crystal tumbler in his hand, the ice cubes clinking against the glass. No, nothing's the matter," he assured her, his tone belying the growing unease within. "I was merely curious, that's all." Sensing his discomfort, Alice moved closer, reaching out to rest a hand on his arm. "You know you can always talk to me, darling," she said, her eyes filled with concern. "If something is troubling you, please let me help." Peter's jaw tightened and he resisted the urge to pull away from her touch. The warmth of her hand only served to heighten his paranoia, the fear that she might betray him once more. He had loved before, only to have his trust shattered, and he refused to allow it to happen again. "It's nothing, my dear," he lied, forcing a smile. "I'm simply a bit on edge, that's all. The stresses of running the business, you understand." Alice nodded, her expression softening. "Of course, my love. Why don't you join me in the kitchen? I'm sure a delicious meal will help soothe your nerves." Peter considered her offer, his gaze drifting once more to the decaying pumpkin patch outside. "Yes, that sounds lovely," he replied, his tone calculated. "I could use the company." As they made their way to the kitchen, Peter's mind raced with dark thoughts, his grip on reality slowly slipping. The seeds of doubt had been sown, and he knew they would only continue to grow, threatening to choke the life from his marriage. Later that evening, Peter sat in the study, a tumbler of whiskey in his hand as he stared into the crackling fireplace. The flames danced, casting an eerie glow over the room, and Peter found himself transfixed by their hypnotic movement. His mind drifted back to his previous marriages, the memories of betrayal and heartbreak, still raw. He had loved before, only to have his trust shattered time and time again. Now, with Alice, he was determined not to let history repeat itself. Peter took a long sip of the whiskey, the amber liquid burning his throat. He had to be vigilant, he told himself. He couldn't allow Alice to deceive him, not like the others had. His grip on the glass tightened, knuckles turning white as the anger and fear threatened to consume him. Suddenly, a soft knock at the study door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called out, his voice betraying none of the turmoil within. Alice poked her head inside, a concerned expression on her face. "Peter, darling, are you all right?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. "You've been in here for quite some time." Peter forced a smile, gesturing for her to enter. "I'm fine, my dear," he assured her, his tone belying the growing unease. "Just lost in thought, that's all." Alice approached him, her brow furrowed in concern. "Is there anything I can do to help?" she asked, her hand reaching out to rest on his shoulder. Peter tensed at her touch, his eyes narrowing slightly. No, everything is fine," he said, his voice clipped. "I'm simply reflecting on some matters." Alice's expression softened, and she leaned in to press a gentle kiss to his cheek. "Well, I'm here for you, my love," she murmured. "Whenever you're ready to talk, I'll be listening." Peter nodded, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. "Thank you, my dear," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. As Alice left the study, Peter's grip on the whiskey glass tightened once more. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that Alice was keeping something from him. The seeds of doubt had taken root, and he knew they would only continue to grow, threatening to consume him and his marriage. The pumpkin patch outside the window loomed, its withered vines and decaying fruits a haunting reminder of the darkness that had taken hold of Peter's mind. He knew he had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. His jealousy and insecurity would not be denied, and he was willing to do whatever it took to preserve his image and his control.